I'm here today because I'm the director of something called Copenhagen Radio Cinema, or Københavns Radiobiograf. And I wanted to do kind of like a radio cinema approach today. So for me, there will be no visuals, only sound. And it could be cool to kind of make that listening event space without the traffic from outside. But let me just get this up and running. As Sandra said, sound and survival, how to talk about that? Well, what I think I'm going to talk about this morning is storytelling through radio and podcast, and also collective listening, which is what we do at Copenhagen Radio Cinema. And I wouldn't say that radio has survived as much as it has progressed and evolved and leapt from its original format. Radio is no longer bound to the apparatus. You don't have to turn on your radio box to listen to radio. Today, radio is just as portable as every other media. And it's actually maybe even easier to implement into other activities, such as riding your bike or doing the dishes, because you don't have to use your eyes while doing it, which is safer for everybody. But one thing that hasn't changed about radio, that remains the same, is that instead of being fed the images as you do when you watch Netflix, which I love doing, then in radio you have to create them for yourself. And I think that's really powerful and very important to remember, to keep your mind active and to keep your imagination fresh in a way. So that's what we are trying to do at Copenhagen Radio Cinema. And we have been arranging listening events since 2013, or I say we, but I didn't join before 2014. And today I'm the director of it. And it's a non-profit organization. We're about 10 people who just really love radio and work with radio in different aspects. And we curate radio in these events. So it's about, we gather people in a space, usually in a movie theater, often Gloria in Copenhagen, central Copenhagen. And then we turn off the lights, and then we play sound bites, different excerpts of stories from 1 to 25 minutes, usually. Sometimes under a theme. Like a month ago, I curated an event that was about the hunt in radio, about how the journalist is looking for something that's gone, or a person who's hiding or lost, or searching for the truth maybe, the hunt for something as a motor in a plot. And sometimes we have producers, radio producers, who come in and tell about their work, present something that they think is significant for how they work with radio. So we've had we've had Danish producers, but also some big names, I think, in international radio, such as Nick Vanderkolk from Love and Radio, and Caitlin Press from The Heart, and Ira Glass from This American Life. I don't know, do you guys listen to podcasts? Okay, so I don't feel like such a nerd for being really excited about Ira Glass. But what we're trying to do is really to create a space where listening becomes a social activity, where you sit together and listen and have an experience with other people about listening. It's listening as a social and intimate and focused experience, because usually listening is something that kind of happens to you when you're out somewhere and you just you have your earplugs in, and listening is sort of just thrown into your head. It's just something that happens. But at a radio cinema, you kind of have to pick it, and you sit in there and you can't do anything else because you're in this dark room. So you're just seated there, and you have to be focused about what you're hearing, the story that you hear. And that just creates for a very special experience. And also the collective aspect, the thing that you can, when you sit in the cinema, the movie theater, and you listen with other people, you can hear their reactions to the story, and that affects your own reaction. So things that are sexy, for example, becomes unbearably so, and things that are funny become so hilarious you can't stop like laughing, and And sadness is so overwhelming. If a story is sad and you hear it in the dark together with other people, you just cry like a baby and are thankful that nobody can hear you or see you. So it's a very powerful experience. And it's not for everybody, but we in the group think that it's a thing that should be more listening should be more widespread and creative and collective also. So I'm going to play different sound bites for you today of things that we've played in the radio cinema so that you can kind of see what a radio cinema story can be. And one of them is this one. It's made by an American radio producer named Tony Schwartz. And he recorded his niece growing up in the 50s and the 60s. And then he edited it down, so it's about 2 minutes long. And she goes from being an infant to being a 13-year-old girl. And it's just a very visual sound piece and very creatively put together. So I'm going to play this for you. To me, there's just something really moving about the way that you can hear the love for this person who grows up so quickly, in literally 2 minutes and 17 seconds. And it's kind of that sort of story that creates images in your mind as a listener that we try to play at the Copenhagen Radio Cinema. And then last year, in April 2016, we had our first international festival in Denmark. It was called Copenhagen Radio Cinema Festival. And very, very creative. And it was the first festival in Denmark to be dedicated to listening as a group. And that's where we had Ira Glass, and then it went pretty well. And then this year we're trying to do it again. Unfortunately, when you're a non-profit, you never really know what the budget is going to be. So we're still working on trying to see what's even possible for us to do this year. But I know that it's going to be a great festival. And it's in September, and if any of you think that it could be interesting for you, then just look us up on Facebook, because I'd love to see you all there. But I should say maybe something about myself quickly. I'm 28 years old and I hold a master's degree in comparative literature. And besides being the director of Copenhagen Radio Cinema, which is kind of a free time thing, I'm a radio producer. So I work with radio professionally, but also as a leisure. And if any of you out there, like me, have taken an academic education with an aesthetic approach, you probably can relate to the feeling of considering yourself a creative person who doesn't really create. And you feel like all you do is observe and reflect, but you don't really have any tools to create anything yourself. And I know that's how I felt after a few years of studying. And then I kind of stumbled upon radio. I never really thought that I should make radio. It's not been a lifelong dream for me, but it kind of just happened. I started doing university radio, and then I got offered an internship as part of my education at DR, Skønlitteratur på P1, which is a radio show about literature. And then after 6 months there, I was like, I don't really feel like going back to school now. So what I did was I just wrote an email to one of my favorite radio producers who produce a podcast in LA that's called Strangers. She's a Danish-born woman who lives in LA and produces podcasts by herself. And I've been listening to that. I thought it was really good. And then I just wrote her an email. I was like, do you need work? And she was like, I don't have any money. I was like, I can work for free. She said, okay, when can you come? And then I went to LA, and I was there for 3 months. And I didn't record sound for her or edit anything. What I did was basically to just, I got a really valuable insight into how an independent radio producer works in the States. And I got to meet a lot of people, and I got to I got this insight in that if you want to do something like radio, which doesn't exactly pay you a lot of money necessarily, you have to really love doing it. And then, yeah, I started doing it because I feel like, okay, I can work for free for a while, and then hopefully someday it will pay off. So that's what I'm doing now. And I think maybe my peak in my career so far happened when I made a radio piece for an NPR show at KCRW called Good Food. It's about food. And they asked me if I wanted to do a piece about Noma. And I did this piece, and then I got bleeped. So my very first NPR piece got bleeped. And this is very uncommon for a Copenhagen Radio Cinema presentation, that we play something that we've done ourselves, but I'm going to do it anyway. It's not that long.
You just told me before that you were there together and they served you a potato that was 1 year old, and you liked it.
It wasn't my favorite dish, but I liked the texture, and I think maybe it's not just about the flavors, but also about the texture.
But so they got you to eat a really old potato.
They got us to eat ants as well, and grasshoppers.
What? I'm just taking this out of a limb. Like, what if they just served you a steaming pile of and said, this is from the cow that's just on the field outside this window, you can see it from here, and
well, I would probably say interesting texture.
Yeah, that's where my career peaked. But my way into radio producing is really, it's paved with unpaid work. And on the theme of survival, that's today's theme, I think it's important to say that I know that volunteering and working for free is not something that everybody's got the liberty to do. But for me, it's really been, it's been super frustrating sometimes, a real pain when you feel like I deserve to be paid now. But still, it's created the possibility for me to enter into some situations that I wouldn't have been able to go into if they had to pay me. And it's given me the opportunity to find out if I wanted to do this and if I was any good at it. So yeah, I think maybe sometimes you have to put away that idea of I need to get paid for every single thing that feels like work, and then say maybe I can turn this thing around and view it as if I'm trying this out and figuring out if I want to work with this. And then eventually you can demand what you think you're worth. And I can honestly say that today every step I've taken, like paying to go to LA and sit there for 3 months and just gaining insight in a podcaster's life, it's really paid off for me in the other end, even though I wouldn't have been able to do it if I didn't live in Denmark, and I was so privileged to have funding from the state for studying. So I know it's not something that's a global thing, you can just work for free, but it's a double-edged sword. I think that you can also put yourself down into a bad position if you feel like work should be traditionally work where you're paid for it. I don't know. We can discuss this maybe later if you want to take it up with me. But one of the things that I wanna talk about briefly now about my approach to radio is we discuss this a lot in Copenhagen Radio Cinema in the group. What we think is interesting to play for other people, and for me, what I listen for when I listen to radio stories is really that strange voice that is kind of hypnotizing and weird, and makes you picture this person and want to gain interest in or insight in who is this person. And I want to play something for you. It's for me this clip is really important because I feel like it's when I heard that I knew that I wanted to make radio. It's by one of my favorite radio shows. It's Love and Radio, and it's called Insane versus Unsane. I'm gonna play 2 minutes for you.
My friend Nick asked me to talk to you for a minute. He thought you needed a little talking to about insanity, so He went to the expert because I'm insane. It's documented. I've been to doctors, I've had the meds, and everything. I'm crazy. And I sound jocular, but I'll tell you, it's frightening. And right now, I'm in the midst of it, and I'm taking a positive tack on it this time around, because I could really dive down in the dumper if I've got mail. Somebody emailed me. I'm here in utter isolation, and someone has reached out, and I'll guarantee you who it is. Now, I'm wishing it was my ex-girlfriend who's driven me to madness, but it's probably my wacky friend in California who's the only person who would still be awake at this hour, sending me emails about alien abductions and political conspiracy theories. And I'll tell you, I'm so positive that it's not my ex and that it's my wacky friend in California, and I'm not even going to get up to chat, but I'm going to sit here on the futon and chat with you for a moment. You want to know about insanity? Well, have you ever felt like you were going crazy? Or are you crazy? Sometimes I'm at the office and I feel isolated in my mental illness. And then I look about the room and I consider each person in there. I consider all the people at work, and now that I've gotten to know them, really, they're all crazy. They just don't know it.
I feel about like this piece, when you listen to it, it's like you've got this man inside your head, and he's the voice inside your head, and you start thinking, am I crazy? Am I going insane? And I think it's just really beautifully done. And I found out this guy who's speaking in this recording is a radio producer himself named Clay Pigeon. Like Clay Pigeon. It's the weirdest name ever. And he has his own podcast, and I listened to it at one point, and he was stuck in an elevator, and then he just played an album he'd done about clowns, because he was stuck in the elevator, so he couldn't make it to the radio station, and then he just called in and asked him to put on an album he'd done about clowns. So, you know, you get to hear strange voices that you wouldn't hear in any other circumstance, and I think that's pretty great about radio. And the reason why you connect, the reason why I connect with it is that I think there's something about that your ears tend to be more empathetic and free of judgment than your eyes are. This is actually something that Julie Shapiro, who used to be, she was the founder of Third Coast in Chicago, she once stated that when you listen to something, you're just more prone to be empathetic towards a person than if you see him or her. Like if you see a person walking down the street, you will judge him or her, like, does he look happy? Does she look good in that dress? He seems tired. I wonder what he's been doing all night, you know, stuff like that. But when you listen to a voice, you think stuff like, oh, he's talking about how he's been staying up all night because he just had his heart broken, or she's been having self-esteem issues her entire life, and she's really taking a positive turn about wearing this dress today. You know, stuff like this. You're more empathetic, and you feel this intimacy with another person when you listen to their voice instead of seeing them. And I think that's a really, really powerful thing about radio, is that it taps into your empathy. And this last thing I want to play for you kind of does that, even though you also find yourself wondering, do I want to feel empathetic toward this person? And that's the ambivalence that's so beautiful about life. But it's a clip from a radio producer named Jonathan Mitchell, who does a podcast, among other things, that's named The Truth. And it's called She Sees Your Every Move. And it's about 4 minutes, so it's the longest thing I'm going to play through today. And if you can just close your eyes and listen and relax, it will be like a regular Copenhagen radio cinema.
I remember one night I drive up to this one house and I had my cameras on my seat strapped in, focused on a particular window. And I was sitting in front of it and I must have been there, a while, maybe half hour. I watched for a long time and I was fixing my camera and checking everything. And all of a sudden, a tap on my window. I jumped. There was a gentleman and he said, "Why are you photographing me in my house?" And so I did say to him in a loud voice, I said, "I'm a photographer and I'm photographing people in their homes at night." And I just started my car and drove away. My name is Michelle Everson. I began this photographic series in 1995. The name of the series is Night Surveillance Series. And what I am doing is photographing people at night in their homes. And I use the camera to create these intimate type of discoveries. I'll look at one of the photographs and talk to you about it. Untitled number 88 is two people in the image, and it was the oddest thing. They were interacting, but his back was to her and her face was to his back. They weren't talking, but they kept moving. And I was very curious as to what was going on. And finally he had stepped back slightly into an area where I could see him, and she was popping his pimples. There was another image that, I was looking in on a neighbor, and she was binging, eating potato chip. Potato chip after potato chip was going into her mouth. They're like these beautiful tableaus to me. They tell a story. They show people's lives. I kind of find my theater, the actual window. And then the performance begins. I sat outside this home and watched this man slouch down in his chair. He wasn't really doing very much, but the window itself I thought was so beautiful and how it reframed the inside and his belongings. There's a fan, and then there's this beautiful family photograph. And I waited and I watched and I watched and I watched, and he fell asleep. And when I go home after I finish shooting, I went, shut the doors, shut the windows, close everything, because I know who I am and I know what I'm doing, but I don't know who's out there watching me. And when I know that they're going to be seen in a gallery or on the internet or wherever they're going to be, I feel like this is an exposure that excites me. I think about it all the time, like what if the shoe were on the other foot? If someone else were doing this to me, would I be mad? Yes. Would I feel upset? Probably. Was it my own fault? Yes. Did I have my window open? Yes. That's how I look at it. And I don't know exactly when I'm going to put it to rest. It could be tomorrow. But I've been watching someone's house lately that I think I really do want to make a photograph of.
To me, there's just something really amazing about the way that she's so curious about other people, but really scared about their curiosity in her. And then the way that she's trying to justify to herself and us why she's doing what she does. that it's their own fault. I mean, it's so human, it's so real. I really like this piece. But this is all I got for you today. Really, in the end, I just want to say that if you want to join the Copenhagen Radio Cinema Festival group in any way, if you've got any ideas for specific funds we should apply for, anything, you can reach out. And I hope to see you at Radio Cinema.